remember what it used to be like when Coke was.
Oh, yeah. He was so bitter.
It was wonderful. I used to stand up there and count 250 cents a second.
He stood.
Well, you didn't get it early, you didn't get a seat. How are you doing?
It's okay.
Alfred.
Just want us to stand right out there on the table, basically.
I know these are peanut butter.
Boy, top.
I ran out of all of them. And she ran out of vanilla. So I poured myself up and down the watching vanilla.
I bet that's expensive. I love it. It's so good.
So would I get Okay, Max.
Good to see you. It's great.
I told him earlier. Get there fast.
Took me a while, but I got it.
You can't invite me to the wedding.
That's he was good.
We're not lying, we're not lying.
What about your weekend after what happened with Frederking?
Years back.
So we just keep all those records at your house. What was that to it?
I saw a picture somewhere.
Hi, how are you guys?
Hi, we're here.
Yes, yes. There you are.
But
Hey there, how are you? See you? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I'm not on it. No, but everyone wants to find out.
I don't
There's just a whole
I
I don't know.
My God.
I'll get back to Thanksgiving.
I don't feel bad.
Well, you're gonna be me, so then you can decide.
If you have your attention, I think we're gonna start off, guys. I'd like to do a presentation here to start off. Thank you. I'm Steve Thompson, I'm chair of the council here at St. John's, and we're going to give Pastor Kim here a chance to speak to you and give background on her in a second. Just wanted to set up the meeting. I have to thank the call committee, because our call committee's put in a ton of hours and a lot of hard work to get us to this point. And we're going to do a meet and greet. We really have two purposes here. We want to have a chance to get to know Pastor Kim, husband Dave, and their family. We also want her to have a chance to know us, so that's the second part of this. The way this works, we're going to do our meet and greet, and then next week we're going to have one service at 9:30 on Sunday, and we're going to have a congregational meeting after that to vote on bringing Pastor Kim into our congregation. So we'll have a week's worth of prayerful consideration there for our decision. Just going to introduce Pastor Kim and give her a chance to give your background and just find out about her family and her pet experiences. So, Pastor Kim, Frederking. Pastor Kim. And your husband David.
Yeah, my husband David. We're Frederking.
Frederking.
Do you recognize that name from Pennsylvania? Yeah. So, for my husband, this is an opportunity to come home, which is great because we've been married nearly 47 years and he's never lived at home. So, since he's found me anyway. So I told you that we've been married about 47 years. Our anniversary is in January. We met going to school at Fort Hays State in Hays. And love happened quick. We were married within 5 months or something like that. So it was quick. And anyway, we've been married for 47 years. We had a daughter who died as an infant. In those early years we were married. And then we have 3 grown sons who all have families. Matthew is married to Melissa. They have a set of twins that are 2 next week. Well, on the 11th, so we're getting real close. And a 13-year-old daughter who's 13. With all that goes with that, 13-year-old girl. And they live in Mount Pleasant, Texas. Melissa stays home and cares for the home and the family, and Matt is a VP of something for Mid-America Pet Foods, which is the pet food company that Duck Dynasty promotes, and their dogs are fed with. So Matt knows all the Duck Dynasty guys, which is sort of fun. Then we have Adam. He's married to Micah. He is a firefighter, a captain in Rogers, Arkansas. His wife, Micah, is a second-grade teacher, and they have 2 children, Sam, who just turned 7, and Sadie, who is a really strong 3. She's something. They're going to be busy with her. And then Micah had a daughter by a previous relationship, Sarah. She's 22. Then we have Christopher, and his wife Vanessa, and they live in a community called Prairieville, Louisiana, which sits between Baton Rouge and Lake Pontchartrain. Prairieville exploded into a community after Katrina hit, and a lot of people who left the city moved to this area. So it's a really strong up-and-coming neighborhood. And Trent, I have to tell you, he will be getting us tickets to the LSU Alabama game. Chris is in charge of his company's tailgating on that Saturday.
Who's he with?
Zeno Grain. He works for Zeno Grain, which is a Japanese-owned international grain shipping company. He's the general manager, and their facility sits on the Mississippi River. It is the largest facility in the world, and he manages that at 39. So we think that's incredible to be that young and manage that many people and ships from all over the world. They have one little boy, his name is Eli, and he will turn 2 in January. And he's just really sweet. One thing I'm going to tell you about our family is that all the kids have had problems with fertility and conceiving. They've all lost children. The ones that live in Texas have lost many babies to miscarriage. And we cherish children. That's something that David and I do with the loss of our daughter and then what has happened with our sons for various reasons. None of them are the same. Children are important to us. The twins were surrogate by our daughter-in-law's brother's wife. And little Eli, was adopted. So I just want you to know how special children are to us. And hopefully we can put some of that to use here too. Ministry, okay. I've lived in a lot of places. In fact, if we move here, which I'm hoping we're all on the same page, it will be, I think, my 30th home. I've moved a lot. My dad was an engineer for AT&T. And if you know what they call the designer numbers, 1-800-Flowers, my dad did that, which is kind of his team put that together. That's one of the things he's done. But with all the moving, coming back to Hayes to go to school is what my parents wanted. They were both raised in Waukene. There's a few of you here. Yeah. Anyway, so I came back to school and met David here. We've lived, my husband and I have lived in many, many places in Kansas. We've lived in Texas. We've lived in Virginia. We've lived in North Carolina. And when we were living in North Durham, North Carolina, he came home from work one day and said, "I'm ready to go home." So we came back to Kansas, and he was able to get a position in Western Kansas. We moved to Waukene. We bought a Dynas home and lived there for a while. And then, because of his work schedule and some health stuff that I had going on, we sold our big home, moved into a tiny little place. And about that time, I'd been taking care of my 100, well, she turned 100, year-old great aunt. She lived with us for a few years. We bought a smaller house. I was in the PMA program for that time when we moved to a smaller place. Because of my experience with grief, having lost a child and then just what life does, the older you get, the more people you lose. And having cared for my great aunt, she died at 102. And then, because of my health challenges through the years, I asked my pastor at Bethlehem Lutheran Church, Randy Gibbs, what do you think if I were to start some self-help support groups? Just to allow people to get together and to spend some time talking about their journey. And, I have the opportunity to share some scripture with them and pray with them. And I go, what do you think about this PMA program? Do you think that would be helpful? And he said, well, you wouldn't necessarily have to do that, but it would be really good if you did. So I went through the PMA program. I took 3 years to do that. And instantly, I was already leading worship because at the time, Prairie Faith Shared Ministry were 6 congregations with 2 pastors and a seminary intern from Wartburg in Dubuque. And so anytime they couldn't preach, I started preaching right away. Got through the PMA program, and for a year I worked as just a fill-in, because we did have a full-time or a part-time, a paid position as a PMA. She quit, and I was asked to do that. So a year into the PMA certification, I became paid staff to lead worship. That was in 2012. So for 10 years, I've been leading worship. Currently, I serve 3 congregations regularly, preach at them, 3 of them through a month. Oh, I skipped the seminary part, didn't I? Yeah. Okay, so it just this sort of gets crazy. So, yeah. So about 4 years into the PMA thing, 5 years, I had friends who were saying, "Oh, you need to come on the team. You need to do team." And the seminary interns, when they would come from Wartburg, would say, "Oh, I see word and sacrament all over you." And I would say, "Nope, not me, not doing it. I'm perfectly happy where I am." Well, then there was an intern who came, the 3rd intern who approached me, and she literally got in my face and went like that. "I see it all over you." And anyway, that's how my journey to seminary began. So I enrolled in team at Wartburg, and actually finished in about 24 months. 24 months. 26 months. I hustled through it. At the time, I only had to worry about Sunday worship. And so when David at the time was working and living in Dodge City, so I would go down during the week and maybe we'd take 3 classes at a time, be online all day long and working on papers and stuff. Anyway. And then I was ordained in the last day in February, leap year. So I only get to celebrate every few years. 3 years, it will be 3 years ago. So that's how my journey kind of to this place became, or to this setting has taken me. So I guess, what else do you want to know? Does anybody have any questions? I love to teach confirmation. I love kids. I use Luther's large catechism to teach confirmation because it has great stuff in it. Did you ever buy one and read it? But anyway, I like to use that for confirmation. I taught midweek, which a Wednesday night children's program ministry. I taught that for about 4 or 5 years. David and I were youth leaders when our kids were in junior high and high school. So we have about 10 years probably of that work that we've done together. I did a weekly ministry with Ruth Scott. Where's she at? There you are. With Helen's mom. And went to the nursing home once a month for years and just did a coffee hour with the ladies. And we did a little bit of non-baking cooking or sharing stories and stuff like that. So that was a lot of fun. I do not like being bored. I like things to do. And I like having fun.
What do you do for fun?
What do I do for fun? Well, friends of ours own a winery.
That sounds like
wine is delicious, but what I love is it's beautiful out there. If you've ever been to Shiloh Vineyard and Winery, west and south of Waukene, it's a beautiful place. I would even just take a book and go out there because I could, even when they weren't open. I went out there and would read. When David and I go, we visit with the owners and spend a couple of hours just chatting. It's a really peaceful place. We love being outside. We love nature. So that's one of the things. And of course, children and grandkids. And I love to read. I love to read because when you read, you get to go somewhere else. And it's a lot of fun. My favorite television show is Andy Griffith. And if it's not that one, it's Antiques Roadshow out of Britain. Right? He's kind of got me hooked on Perry Mason.
What kind of books do you like?
What kind of books? Lots of different kinds, really. I like historical novels. I like to read any kind of fiction in places that I've been. So all the different places that I've lived or have visited, I like to read. I read about those places because I smell it, I see it, I can almost taste it, you know. I know exactly what it's like to be there. That would probably be. And then for a lot of years, I had discovered a writer from Maine that I loved. I can't remember his name, and he quit writing, so I've never been able to find any more of his books. But I love the way people from Maine think. They're very different than us. Anything else?
Can you tell us about what you like to do for adult Sunday school?
Adult
Probably
Sunday-
has a better name.
Yeah, adult forum, okay. My experience with some of that is usually with women. I've not led a mixed study, really. I've done a lot of women's retreats, led women's retreats. But the one thing that I do is I don't give you answers. I don't give you answers. It's not my job. It's your job. To think about your relationship with Christ, for you to decide who God is and how you fit into His world, and what God has waiting for you. Yeah, I don't like giving answers. It drives some of the older women crazy in the Gathering magazine Bible study because I don't answer the questions. I have them have to think about it.
Was David's growing up in Sweden influence, some influence for your looking at St. John's?
Yes, absolutely. The other piece too is that two of our daughters-in-law had their parents right down the road. One at McPherson and one at Pretty Prairie. So much closer than out there. Yeah. But yeah, he's got a lot of family in town. I have family in town too, on my mother's side and my father's side. So yeah. Anything else? I'm glad you're here.
Well,
Well, we just socialize, get some more coffee and cookies. We can talk with.
Yeah, if you have any more questions, I'll answer them, okay? Oh, yeah. Hey, I brought this for the call committee to look at, and I was asked if I would bring it again today. It's just a 3-ring binder of some of my work. So if you just want to look through it, there's a few bulletins. There's a list of just all the different things in ministry that I've done, not exhaustive, but quite a list. And then newsletter article or some different funerals that were under different circumstances. If you wanna, you're welcome to open everything up and dig through the pages. I want you to know who you're getting. Should you decide to vote my way, I want you to know who I am. I don't want you surprised.
Well, what do you know about us?
I don't know much. I heard that you were really excited I was coming. Del, what's
I
that?
thought everybody had to do that.
Oh. Pastor Del has said only good things about you, and I've known him for quite a few years, and we're actually family too. If you get out the family tree, when I go digging.
You're related to half the people in this room. Because half the people are related to him.
He must be a family of pastors.
Oh, my
You preach from the pulpit or from out front?
It just depends. I am very, very flexible. If you come up to me some Sunday and say, preach from the pulpit, okay. Or, preach in the middle of the aisle. It doesn't matter to me.
Do you have a preference?
Actually, I preach, because I preach in 3 different places, I kind of preach in 3 different places. So, right now at Bethlehem, the pulpit microphone in Joaquin is not working. And the lapel mic's not working. So I'm preaching from the left room. Before, I had the lapel mic on, and I was many times up front, and then depending on what the content of the sermon was, I was in the pulpit. At St. John, the place I'm at every Sunday, most of the time I'm in front of the altar, I'm up front, but I have stood at the lectern before. Their pulpit at St. John is one of those older ones. The church is 100 years old, where the pulpit is way up there. And I'm not comfortable there. I only preach there when we have really large funerals. I'm no different than anybody else in the room. And I guess humility keeps me from being there on Sunday mornings. I just don't feel comfortable that high above the people preaching God's word. I want to see your faces. I want to be near you, not up here. So, y'all decide where you want me, and I'm fine.
Have you ever been to St. John's before? Since you have family in this area?
I've been here for clergy meetings, and you've hosted the PMA, I think a PMA convo or 2 through the years.
Mary Bridges.
Yeah, so I've been here some, yeah. But when I was here, what was it, 6 weeks ago or whatever it's been, it was the first time that I really toured the church.
We showed her the
Yeah, no, I got to see the attic.
Didn't take her all the way up to the booth.
Yeah, we peeked, we got floor level, so we can see.
What year did Fort Hays State, what study there?
I was there not very long because I was a freshman and he was a senior. And I didn't stay in school after we married. 75, the fall of 75. And I was actually studying not political science. They were sticking me in a bunch of those classes. I wanted to be a juvenile probation officer. I was in the first class of the Boy Scouts Explorer program for law enforcement for young women when I lived in New Jersey. I graduated from high school in Middletown, New Jersey. And I loved that. But I was too short to be a cop any place but the state of New York at the time. And so I received a scholarship for juvenile probational work.
And you used to live in Bennington.
Not Bennington.
Beloit.
Beloit.
Start with B.
Yes.
Beloit.
We've lived in Colby, Hunter, Logan, Beloit, Waukene, Ellis. Now we're north of Ellis. That's Dodge City. Okay, that's all here, right?
Unless you go back to your childhood.
Well, yeah, we're not going to our childhood. Yeah. And then we lived in Durham, North Carolina, and Roanoke, Virginia.
You need to ask her the story about Greenville, Texas.
Yeah.
We lived there.
I got to hear part of it.
We lived in Greenville, Texas for like 3 months.
That she thought was 10 years.
I mean, the people ended up being really nice, but it was sort of a shock. He thought he had rented a house for us to live in, and it was Christmas, literally Christmas, when we were loading up to move to Texas, and the house fell through. And we literally ended up in illegal immigrant housing. And we lived there for 3 months, which was a really good lesson. Because you know what? We learned you don't need much. We didn't have space for much. And we could have a very fulfilling and satisfying life. You know, just Gruver is quiet and small. And if you've never lived in a community where you literally hear the click of spurs on boots during lunchtime, it's amazing to see those cowboys come in from the pastures and have their horses in the trailers and clicking down the sidewalk, going to the Mexican restaurant or to Dairy Queen. That was really cool. And I learned how to remodel houses just in that short time. So I worked for a realtor and she had me doing her house. You can do this. So I learned how to sheetrock. Then when we got ready to move, I was supposed to be putting in a new kitchen. Yeah, I said, I can't do that. She goes, sure, we can figure this out. So we went to Amarillo to look for cabinets.
That was before YouTube and Google.
What's that?
It was before YouTube and Google.
Yeah. Yeah. Anything else?
Where was St. John at? Was that back in Western Kansas? St. John?
Where I'm at now? It's north of Ellis.
Okay.
The country church north of Ellis.
Then you know you have to care
Who's that?
Kay Sauer. She,
Yeah, they're not.
well, her folks were,
Yeah, I recognize the name.
Gregor is their last name.
Yeah, Craigers. Oh, yeah. Matt.
At
Matt is
Wartburg, at Wartburg in Iowa, is where she went to seminary.
Anything else? I'm an open book. I'll tell you about anything.
Well, I just wanted to make an announcement to the congregation. I think there are 50 people in this room. So if everyone here shows up next Sunday at 9:30, and we each call one person we don't see, we'll make sure we have enough to have a church meeting, congregation meeting.
There you go.
We're going to take a picture of everyone who's in here now.
We are on video.
Yeah, I'll set this out on the quilters tables if you don't mind, and you can just tear this thing apart. It's fine with me. Okay?
Just put it, you can stay here or go. You want to come by, talk to Dave, do that. Good seeing this group.
Still going? Yeah. So it's not gonna matter if I walk in front of it? Oh, you're fine. Yeah. It's zoomed out.
You sure don't want to do this again.
Nice to meet you.
I did too.
See you again.
Our granddaughter is on They're going to the process. Take care.
See you. Have a good afternoon.
They're not. It's like Mary Bridges. Right, it is a program that can give that specific task. Only here. It's not like you're living there. During the time that it's allowed, and then after that, so you're specific to